Hello everybody, I just wanted to do that quick video where I talk about the interesting mechanics of antique firearms. Now, I'm not a gun person really. I like target shooting and I've grown up shooting rifles and stuff because, contrary to popular belief, target shooting and guns are actually quite popular here in Canada. But anyways, this is the only, I guess, real firearm I own. It is a Pedersoli traditional Hawking target rifle. And the name is quite deceiving because it is actually not traditional. It's roughly based on a Hawking rifle, but the design is different. It's a little patch box. You can put patches in there. It's kind of cool. Anyways, this is not an antique firearm. I think it was built anytime in the last 2 years. It might have been built to order, in which case it was built last year. But either way, yeah, this is a fully functional, modern Flintlock rifle. I haven't shot it yet because I haven't gotten the chance to, but yeah, boom. I'm also using my cell phone to record this because it has better viewing than my actual camera, so we'll just have to deal with that now, shall we? What I primarily enjoy about antique firearms is more just the mechanics of how they work, and how it's more methodical to load them than with a cartridge gun, which I find kind of boring personally. But anyways, yes, all the action happens here. This is the entire mechanism for firing the gun. We have the cock, we have the jaw springs, the flint pad in the jaws. This is called the frizzen. This is what it actually hits, and then the frizzen spring. And right in here, is the pan. Lighting, there we go. Is the pan and the wee little hole that goes into the bore. So, what happens is it strikes the frizzen pops open, ignites the primer powder, ignites the powder inside the gun, boom, it goes. It is actually very interesting. And the Flintlock is actually kind of like, I guess, a third or fourth generation firearm mechanism, because there were ones way before this. The earliest ones were basically just cannons. You'd light them like cannons, they were on sticks, and they would go. I think China invented those. Then you had the first actual gun, I guess you could call it that, was the matchlock. Yeah, the matchlock muskets, which you would have a similar setup to this, where you'd have the pan and the cock, but it would, instead of having a frizzen, you would have just like a pan lid, and the cock would contain a match, which was usually a wick made of just a burning material, usually like cotton or something like that, treated cotton. And what you'd do is you'd load the gun like you would this one, but then when you prime the powder, you'd close the pan, otherwise the powder would fall out. And then when you're ready to fire, you have to manually open the pan, and then when you shoot, it just dives the match into the primer, and that ignites it, sets it off. There were versions, I believe they were older, that behaved more like cannons, where you'd have the match would just go straight into a borehole on top of the actual barrel and would light it like a cannon. I don't know if those were commonly used. I'm not entirely sure, but I do know they existed and they kind of sucked. So, and after matchlocks, they developed the wheel lock, which was far more complicated than the matchlock or even the flintlock. Because what it would do is you'd have the big cock here that would then hold pyrite instead of flint, and you'd pull it up over into a big wheel mechanism, and inside the wheel mechanism was a big, spring and a serrated steel wheel, hence the name, and then of course the pan and powder. And what you do is when you pull the trigger, it would let the spring go. This wheel would spin really fast, striking the pyrite, causing sparks, igniting the pan, and it went. Again, it was horrifically complex and expensive, so it wasn't a very good mass-produced item. But then they invented the flintlock, which was far simpler and far easier to use, and also just more reliable. Now, how you would actually go about using this is, first off, you'd load the gun, you'd pull out the stick, and you'd, I guess the ramrod is the correct term, and you would load it and get the charge set up. And then when the charge was set up, you would take your gun here, and you'd pull this to half cock, like that. You put your priming powder into the pan, and then close the frizzen. And now with that closed, the powder's protected, you're good to go. You then move this back to full cock. Now the gun is ready to fire. Now my gun is not loaded. Obviously, I don't actually have any black powder or anything of that with me right now currently, so it's obviously not going to, like, shoot anything. Now mine has this 2 trigger setup. It has the hair trigger, the primary trigger. Now I can use the primary trigger as is, but the hair trigger actually puts this onto, as the name suggests, a hair trigger. And I actually need to adjust the tensions on it because it's quite stiff. But here we go. You pull on this. Does you hear that click? The gun is now ready to shoot. At this point, you would then line up, gauge your shot, hold it, and then fire. When the flint strikes the frizzen, as you saw there, sparks, and it opened up the actual pan, igniting the gunpowder, and away it goes. And that kind of shows you a very interesting... Oh, there's a bit of a twist there. I need to tighten that up. Anyway, so that kind of shows you the very simple but kind of ingenious method to make a more reliable firearm, because back in the day, it was a real pain. And I personally love classic guns like this more than modern ones because it's more methodical to load them, and I love the simplicity of the lock. I mean, I also enjoy the target shooting too, but I mostly just like the mechanics of it. So I just want to talk about them because I think they're fascinating. I'm not a huge fan of cartridge guns. I mean, I do like bolt-action rifles for target shooting and airsoft, but I wouldn't actually really own a real one because I just don't care enough to do so. But I do enjoy this black powder Flintlock rifle. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll probably do some other live-action curiosity videos at some point because, well, they're interesting. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and